because I was trying to post it on Instagram, but it just didn't work because my phone ran out of memory. My phone is completely bogged down right now because I got too many videos and too many pictures of my kids on there. Say that like it's a bad thing, but yeah, I tried to record this video. I was gonna post it on Instagram, but it didn't work out. So now we're gonna have to do a live stream. I'm just gonna leave it at that. All right, but really, let's get into it. Divorce is not a thing in Christianity. Divorce is not a thing in Catholicism. All right. Nowadays, I know that people in marriages, if they feel like, oh, the love is not there no more, or, I got a better option over here, or she cheated on me, or they abused me. I know this sounds crazy, but you cannot divorce that person, especially if it's a valid marriage, okay? And in other videos I posted, we talked about what makes a marriage valid. And so, in situations where, let's say, a young girl is forced into a marriage or some sort of forced arranged marriage situation, this is not a valid marriage. So, she would not have to stay in this union. Okay, this is invalid. What makes a marriage valid is a couple criteria. You have to be able to consent, which means no children. You have to be in your right mind. You can't be mentally disabled. You have to actually know what marriage is and what you're getting into. Okay, so you have to have somewhat of a healthy IQ. And then you have to actually consent. So you can't be coerced or forced into this marriage against your will. That would invalidate this marriage. So you would not have to remain in this marriage. You have to intend to be with this person for life, because that's the whole point of marriage is sickness and health, rich or poor, for better or for worse, till death do us part. Till death do us part. This marriage ends whenever I die or whenever you die. Okay, that is traditional marriage. You can't be under the influence of any drugs. Good morning to you, 99 Honda Civic. Yo, I'm not uncle, okay? Don't call me that. And also, y'all trying to break my train of thought. You can't be under the influence of any sort of drugs, narcotics, whatever have you be. Okay, so this includes the Vegas style wedding. You wake up the next morning, you're hungover, you see a stripper laying next to you and you got a wedding ring on. That's not a real marriage, okay? Because, and especially if you have no recollection of what happened to you the night prior or like the past 24, 48 hours because you were so heavy on the perks, then that would invalidate your marriage. You're not in a valid marriage. So then a separation, or more specifically, a dissolution would take place. Also, you have to have the proper minister to marry you. So you can't just go and get Greg off of Craigslist or get your neighbor to do it. No, they have to be an actual judge, like from the state, who has that authority to do that. Or it has to be a proper priest, bishop, or some minister who actually has the authority from God to make your marriage binding. Now, why we're even talking about this, right, is because there's a lot of people who think like, oh, like, you can get a divorce in Christianity, but it's not really a thing, and it's never been a thing. You marry, you stay with that person, and you're married for life. How you know you had a successful marriage is that either you die or your spouse dies. That's when your marriage is over. How do we know this, right? From the Bible, from the words of Jesus himself. And specifically, we're looking at Matthew chapter 19, verses 1 through 11. You can read the whole passage, but it's only 1 through 11 that are really relevant to this conversation. So you can see here at Matthew chapter 19, verse 6, Jesus is saying, so they are no longer what it is. Two. They're no longer two, but one. And key words right here. No human being must separate then what God has joined together. So that means that no sort of divorce, no civil matter, nothing from the state can separate what God has joined together. So we're talking about a valid marriage, a man and a woman, they get together, everything's proper, they meet all the criteria for a valid marriage. Nothing can separate this. No man, no government, no magistrate can separate this union. Boom, you have it right there. And also, he says this two more times in different books. We go to Mark chapter 10, verses 9, right here. You see, he says, no human being must separate then what God has joined together. That's super crystal clear. Now you skip down a verse, in verse 11, he says, he said to them, a man who divorces his wife and marries another woman commits adultery against his wife. What are you doing? If you're already married to one woman and then you X her out, right? Kick her to the curb, divorce her, right? And then you go and you get another woman, new wife. That's called adultery. Adultery is you sleeping with someone who's not your wife or husband. So even though you got into a new marriage and you think that, oh, shorty over here, she bad, this your new wife. No, Jesus is saying that's not fresh. That's actually a sin and it's called adultery. Because in the eyes of God, you're still married to your original wife. That's literally what he's saying right here in Mark 10. And then again, he says it in Luke. Where in Luke? Luke 16, 18. Any man who divorces his wife, X her out, and then marries another woman, commits adultery. Bro, you're cheating on your original wife if you divorce her and get with another woman. That's why we don't believe in divorce here in Catholicism. In true Christianity, yes, Catholics are Christians. We're the OGs, okay? We started this whole thing. Who put the Bible together? We did. Who's really running things right now? We did. Who got the Pope on their side? We do, okay? We're not new to this. Y'all new to this. We're true to this. So don't get it twisted and don't say stupid stuff like, oh, the Catholic Church, they're corrupt. Oh, they're not real Christians. You stupid, okay? Go learn some history, okay? Go read this book right here, The Didache. This is from the very beginning. Very beginning. We're talking first century, second century documents, Christian teachings, early Christian teachings. And whatever you read in here is the exact same thing that Catholics practice today to show you that ain't nothing changed. We've been doing this from the very beginning. Salute. That's why I love y'all. That's why I love my Catholic Church. But now, take it back to the Matthew 19. Because what is the principle here? The principle is, it's laid out in those three different books I said, in verse 6 and chapter 10 of Mark and in 16 of Luke. And what is that? That is, no human being must separate then what God has joined together. It's Friday, not Sunday. Hey, that's even a better reason to go hard with this, because Jesus was crucified on a Friday. But we had to address this because there's so much it's so much misinformation coming from people, especially from Instagram. And I know this is not on Instagram, but I'll post it on Instagram so that you guys over there can watch it. Probably won't though, because I might be lazy. Anyways, you can't divorce your wife. Okay, it's not a thing. Any sort of document that you receive civilly or like from the state, the church doesn't recognize it. God, like in his eyes, he does not recognize it because your union is lasting until you die. Now, there is something called an annulment, and that takes into consideration that your marriage from the beginning was never actually a marriage, or you didn't meet some criteria to have a proper, valid marriage. In these situations, then yes, you can have your marriage dissolved. And there's also a special exception. I'll talk about that a little bit later, to where you can have your marriage dissolved. But it's very, very rare. It's the Pauline privilege and the Petrine privilege, but we'll touch on that a lot later. Now, back to Matthew 19. Where's my Matthew 19? Context is key, bro. You look like Lil Nas. Yo, you're tweaking balls, Paulo. Okay, if you really think I look like Lil Nas. My skin is mocha, okay? Lil Nas X, he's dark. He's dark. You tweaking. Anywho, this whole conversation gets kicked off because of something called the Jew trap. I don't know if I'm allowed to say Jew on YouTube, but I'm gonna say it for this live stream. I saw on TikTok, they're deleting and they're banning people if you put the little juice box emoji. I know social media is getting crazy. They don't want no type of Israel or Jewish slander. And the thing is, I'm not really slandering. I'm just spitting facts though. But this is the Jew trap, all right? Because this whole conversation got kicked off because these Jews tried to pull up on Jesus and they're trying to trick him. And you can see that so clearly right here. Verse number 3. Some Pharisees came to him and tried to trap him by asking, does our law allow a man to divorce his wife for whatever reason he wishes? Now, keep in mind, all right, we need historical context, all right? There's two main camps. I know I put up 4 fingers, but just take it as they come. Two main camps. What are these camps? The Shammai and the Hillel. Not Halal, we'll say Hillel, okay? The Shammai and the Hillel. Now, the Shammai, these are the Jews that think that you can only divorce your wife in the case where she's sleeping with another man. She's committing adultery. That's the only reason. The Hillels, they think you can divorce your wife. Hey, yo, kick that hoe to the curb for any reason. You come home from working a 13-hour shift, pull in the driveway, walk upstairs, you smelling the food, and then you see, oh, old girl over here burnt the chicken. She burnt the macaroni and cheese. Hey, yo, kick this hoe out. You divorced. They believe that that's valid. You can divorce your wife for literally any reason. I don't like the way you look today. Get out, okay? You burnt the food. Get out. Your face makes me feel weird. Get out. That's what they believe. So these two camps coming to Jesus, they're asking him questions because they're trying to trap him, and they're trying to see, hey, yo, which side you gonna go with? You gonna go with the Shammai or you gonna go with the Hillel? And what does Jesus say to them? Nah, I ain't going with none of y'all because y'all got the game real twisted up right now. Right? So he's saying, yo, I'm not siding with no one. And I'm gonna really break it down to you what it exactly is. And what does he say to him? Verse 9. I tell you then that a man who divorces his wife for any other cause other than her unfaithfulness commits adultery if he marries some other woman. Now, I might have to slow it down because this is a bit complicated to understand, okay? But he says, any man who divorces his wife for any cause other than her unfaithfulness commits adultery if he marries some other woman. This word unfaithfulness also, it's translated as for her sexual immorality. The official word of this that's in the Greek is porneia, right? And porneia is where we get the word pornography for. All right, it means sexual immorality outside of marriage. So this is key to understanding exactly what Jesus is saying. And then to even further add more evidence that he's not saying what you think he's saying is the reaction from his own disciples. So what he's saying here is that, where's my verse 9? I tell you then that any man who divorces his wife for any cause other than her porneia, her sexual immorality, commits adultery if he marries some other woman. So he's not saying you can divorce your wife if she was cheating on you, she was being sexually immoral, committing adultery. That's not what he's saying. Because if that was what he was saying, he would have sided with the Shammai group of Jews. And he's not siding with them. He's saying something completely different. Nobody likes America. Hey, yo, you can go take a big scoop of hummus and tahini, put it on my balls, and sniff it off, because we're not caring anything what you got to say right now. Y'all trying to destroy my train of thought, and it's not finna happen right now. You look like Tupac with hairs and piercings. Thank you. I am Tupac reincarnated, even though reincarnation is not real and it makes no sense. idiot. Back to what I was saying. Porneia. He's saying the word porneia, sexual immorality, because this is talking about sex outside of marriage. So he's calling into question the validity of this so called marriage, right? And he's saying, if you're in this thing you call marriage, it can actually be dissolved because, in fact, you're not in a marriage. And specific examples that he's pointing at is, let's say, a man marries his mother in law, or a brother marries the sister, right? Or an uncle marries the niece, right? We're talking about like incestuous, disgusting scenario and relationships. People actually do this. They get together with their family members, they marry them. Y'all even seen, niggas be tweaking in America. Moms be what do they call it? They be not aborting their kids. they be they'll have a kid, right? And then they'll give them away and then meet up with the kid years later and then fall in love. And then they'll be getting it in and then they'll get married. He's talking about situations like this, like super disgusting, incestuous relationships. And, you know, a son getting with his stepmom. He's saying if you think that this is a marriage, it's actually not a marriage. And then this so-called union can be split because it's disgusting and it's not valid. But if you are in fact in a valid marriage, right, and we're talking about a man, a woman, not related, together, married, and you can't separate this. But if you're a niece and an uncle, that's not kosher, okay? That's got to be split up. That's what he's talking about right here. And how do we know that? Because if he meant you can divorce your wife for her cheating on you, he would have used the word mokia, which is actually adultery. That's a more specific word to explain adultery in this context, but he didn't. He used porneia. And we can gauge that because of the next verse, 10, we get the reaction of his disciples. And what did they say? His disciples said to him, if this is how it is between a man and his wife, it is better not to marry. That is so telling right there. That is so telling. They're saying, dang, you're saying, even if my wife cheats on me, if all this drama, everything, I can't divorce her? Yes. Then they say to him, it is better not to marry, because this is such a hard teaching surrounding marriage. And what does Jesus say? Yeah, I know this teaching doesn't apply to everyone, but only to those whom God has given it. I know it's a hard teaching, but this is what it is, because marriage is sacred and God is serious about marriage. It's not like high school, you just hop into a relationship. Hey, yo, I got a girl for 2 weeks. All right, she kind of cracked. I'm gonna get a new bae. It's not like that. You don't just hop in and out of marriages like people play house today. It's not how it is. It's not how it's going down. Not here, not around here, not in the Catholic Church. You feel me? But the more important thing to remember is these specific words of porneia and mokia. They are similar in the sense that they're describing sexual immoralities, but specifically, Jesus used porneia, which is sexual immorality outside of marriage. And if he was talking about you divorcing your wife because she cheated on you, he would have used mokia, which is specifically adultery. You being inside of a marriage and sleeping with people who you're not married to, man or woman. That's very key to this whole conversation. Now, I'm not going to go that deep into it, right? Because there's always exceptions to the rules, and you read about some of these in First Corinthians. These are very rare exceptions where it talks about dissolutions of marriages between basically two non-believers, and then after a time, one of the non-believers converts. And again, I'll make a separate video on this because it gets really deep and complicated because it pulls into play the validity of a marriage and if it's a sacramental marriage, and also if the person was baptized and when they were baptized, if they were baptized before the marriage or after the marriage. It gets very deep and complicated. And just talking about these things, especially for like me, it's kind of hard to see or follow unless I have like a board to kind of draw pictures and point out these specific examples to everyone. But again, in marriage, uh, in Christianity, divorce it's not a thing. Now, you can get divorced civilly, like through the state, through the government. But again, in the eyes of God, you are still very much married to that person. And now, I'm not saying, listen to my words carefully. If you're in a marriage and you're getting beat, you're getting abused, you're getting spit on every day, leave that nigga, okay? Separation is possible. Leave that person, get very far away from them. Separation is a thing in Christianity. However, divorce is not. Because, again, you can't break what God put together. But if your life is in danger, if your children's life is in danger, like, for example, if your husband is abusing you or the kids, run. Get up out of there, okay? And get very far away for as long as you need. Forever, right? Indefinitely. But again, a physical separation, you just up and leaving your husband for health reasons, is very different from your marriage actually being separated. So if something like that does happen, you're required to stay single for the rest of your life or until your husband dies, or in the reverse case, if you have to leave your wife, you're still married to her and you can't remarry because then you'd be committing a sin of adultery against your original wife, even though your original wife or husband is a complete piece of shit. This whole marriage conversation is um it's extremely important to God, right? And this is why, like I said, this isn't a Vegas style type of wedding, right? It's not just like, oh, I go meet a stripper or I go meet a booty clapper on Friday night and we're so in love and we're getting married. Marriage in traditional Christianity and Catholicism, it's not going down like this, okay? And this is why it takes months, even years, right, throughout your engagement to finally end up at marriage because they want to break down to you what is marriage. Are you actually ready to be with this person forever? Do you know like what this whole thing is about? This isn't something that you rush into because marriage is literally one of the most important decisions of your life. And you can see, if you marry wrong, your life will turn out like shit. Only stupid people believe in God. See, that's how we know that you're stupid, bro. You probably rubbing your toes together, laying in bed watching this live stream right now. Complete idiot. Stop doing the vapes. Do you remember me? Of course I don't remember you, R. West. I'm conceited and I'm a narcissist. I'm only interested in myself. Why would I remember you, R. West? Yes, of course I remember you. Chica Hall says only stupid people believe in God. This nigga's an idiot, bro. Right. And normally I'm not going back and forth with you idiots no more, okay? I'll say my piece and then I'm just gonna give you guys the boot, right? If y'all wanna remain in ignorance, then I mean that's all on you. Y'all wanna keep, just believing in lies, that's cool, okay? My philosophy today is fuck it, crash, okay? I don't care. I will give you the facts. I will give you the truth. But I know that some of you guys, y'all are impervious to facts and to truth. So any sort of logical explanation is not going to work on you guys because y'all are too deep into your fields. It's not going to work. The only thing that's going to work on you guys, God will probably have to show up personally in front of you for you to believe. And even then, if that happens, some of you guys still wouldn't believe. You're gone. You're too far gone. We're talking Drake status. Not that Drake is too far gone, but you get the reference. That's a reference to one of his mixtapes. So far gone. Correction. But that's all I got for you guys today. The implication of not being able to divorce comes with the idea that if you're being mistreated in your marriage, which shouldn't be a thing, but I mean, we are human, and some people are master manipulators. If it does happen, separation is possible, and it should be done under extreme situations such as abuse of yourself or the children. Get up out of there. But with that being said, that doesn't negate the vows you took, especially if it was a valid marriage. There's nothing that can break that here on earth except for God, death, and the Pope. With that being said, Rasmus Vindicali in the building. Greetings. Nice to see you. I'm gonna end this stream and then I'm going to go do something else, and then I'll be on stream a little bit later. So pull up, but first go do something with your life. Okay? Okay, you guys. And like Jesus said, this is the teaching for married people. But with that in mind, everyone isn't to get married, because marriage, it's not easy and it's not for everyone. Some of you guys should stay single for the rest of your life if you know that I can't commit to one person. I can't do married life with a woman or with a man if you're a girl. So it's in your best interest not to get into a marriage, or not to, especially not to rush into marriage. And this is why we have the whole courtship process, right? Pretty much you're vetting this person for a long period of time, not years, right? Because you can get to know a person, fairly easily in a period of time that doesn't take like over a year. But you're vetting this person to see if they have good qualities, if they have proper, what's the word, virtue. And virtue is just a set of good habits. So you're watching them, you're observing them, how they interact with other people, how they interact, with their parents. You're bringing them around your family. You're doing a lot of activities. Not alone, obviously, because then you're just going to end up, smashing each other. But you want to bring this person in and see, like, is this actually a good person? Is this a person that I can actually spend my life with while forming a deep friendship sort of bond? Nothing of the affection sort, because affections, sex, all that type of stuff, that's gonna muddy the waters. You go out to the club, you meet a baddie, bro, with a fatty, and I'm talking, she got the heavies, bro, and she BBL warriors out here, bro. This girl is like Kim Kardashian on steroids, mixed with what's her name, Ana de Armas, right? I mean, we're talking the most gorgeous woman to ever exist, and you smash her first night, and it's so fire, you fall in love with her, but yet you don't know anything about her. She could be a serial killer. She could be a narcissist. She could be a feminist, the worst of all. And yet, because you smashed her and the sex was so good and she smells great, and you think that she's so sweet, again, you know nothing about this woman, or vice versa. You a girl, you smash some dude. He's amazing in bed. He floods your head with all this serotonin, all this dopamine, all these, love bonding chemicals. You overlook every single red flag. The sex is so good, the affection is so strong, you will overlook a lot of BS that you would have not had if you didn't have sex with them, right? Because you can meet a person, be around them, and see, oh, this is a garbage can of a human being. I don't want them anywhere near me. I don't want them to touch me. You can observe them for a couple weeks, come to that conclusion, be like, yeah, no. And do that all without sex and save yourself the headache, the heartbreak, and the chaos in your life. But yet, human beings are very simple, and we don't exhibit common basic sense. Basic common sense, that's what I meant to say. Yeah. Even though, common sense should be common, it's very rare nowadays. But that, you guys, is my TED Talk. Horniness blinds people, absolutely. Because you're supposed to be thinking with this head, and instead you're thinking with this head. So before you smash that sexy Instagram model, you have to keep in mind, on the outside looks delicious, but on the inside, it might be full of shit. She might actually be a terrible person. She might actually have herpes. That's one thing you gotta really remember. You see a lot of beautiful women out here. They're probably actually terrible people. Okay? And they're probably disease ridden too. Because you think sex is so easy for an average woman to obtain, especially if she has, a nice little ass, a little bit of perky titties. She could be, just straight garbage in the face, but she's still gonna get a lot of niggas shooting that shot at her just because they want to smash. And the more that she smashes dudes, the higher her ego is gonna go, to the point where she thinks that, she's God's gift to the world. Everyone wants her, right? So that's what we're dealing with nowadays. A lot of inflated egos, a lot of disease-ridden type of individuals, and so you got to be on the lookout for that. You got to be smart. And you got to be conscious of all these streetwalkers out here. Don't get tricked. Don't get trapped up. Really vet a person. Okay, this is for all the young men, all the young women who are trying to get into marriage relationships. Vet a person. Bring them around, observe them. You can hang out with them, but don't just slide into them, willy nilly, because it's easy. Because you're actually doing yourself a disservice. I know her titties are fat. Okay, I know she got the mommy milkers. I know that you go crazy, bro. She probably suck your soul out of you. Don't fall into that trap, because those 5 seconds of bliss is gonna leave you in 25 years of pain. And I've seen this all too well. I had a homie. This nigga, he was crazy on the women, bro. Just sliding everything, bro. Baddies only. Got this one joint pregnant, you know what I'm saying? She had the kid, kept the kid. They kind of fell off. He wasn't really feeling her like that. She made his life a living hell. Anytime you get a BM and you neglect her, she's gonna go scorch earth on you. And what happens is, boom, hit you with the child support. It's gonna be a large sum of money, especially if you got any sort of bread coming in. Straight off of your paycheck, they taking that out. So me and a homie, we had a situation where we was roomies. I'm supposed to split the rent. He take care of the other half of the rent, and then we split like the electricity, the Wi-Fi. So the rent isn't crazy, but because I only pay half, I'm like, yo, I'm good. Homie come to me, we really chopping it up. He like, bro, I can't really pay the rent, bro. Old girl got me on child support. You see, I'm going to work every day. I'm breaking my back. I'm breaking my balls trying to rake in this money. Look at my paycheck, bro. I looked at homie's paycheck. You can see he get paid this amount, thousands of dollars, and then automatically there's a minus. The child support, government, state of, blah, blah, blah. This large amount comes out of here. The homie really only had like $200 to play with every month, all because of child support. And when you don't pay your child support, the first thing that happens is they take your driver's license. And if you live anywhere that's somewhere, you gotta drive around, especially to get back into work, commute to work, go different places. You need a car in a big city. So what are you gonna do? Just not drive? No. You gotta get to work. So you hop in the whip, no license, putting your life on the risk already. You gets pulled over by the police. Hey, yo, you want a suspended license? You ain't got no license. Locked. Extra charges. Game over. All why? Why? Because you were thinking with your little head and not your big head. Okay? Really, don't be overly freaked out. Okay? I love your plugs. Thank you. These are brand new. I got them from Mosquito Tattoo and Piercing. Shouts out to them. They have excellent customer service. By the way, I might add, the lady was super nice. The dude who hooked me up with these was also incredible. The lady, she helped me with this piercing too because my ball fell out, and she put it in there for me. Great customer service. Go and check them out. They got some cool gauges and stuff. And in fact, the first day I went into there, I got the gauges too small, and I put them in when I got home. I'm like, dang. So I brought them back, and they let me exchange them. No harm, no foul, no extra cost. So I was like, oh yeah, that's what's up. Cause I already had them in. I thought it might be a problem. They were like, yeah, nah, it's cool, bro. Just take these. So yo, shouts out to Mosquito Pearson. Y'all always hold me down. But yeah, stay away from them BBL warriors. You want to look for a woman who is virtuous, who's kind, who's not a whore, right? Preferably a virgin, but you know, that's really hard to find nowadays. But you want to look for someone who's quiet, who loves God, who loves Jesus, goes to church, and who is submissive. Okay? Ideally, what we men are looking for is something like a robot. Okay? So for all you females out there listening, you got to shed that feminist mindset and shell, and we need you to become AI. Okay, that's what men are looking for nowadays. And men, young men, y'all gotta stop being so homosexual. Okay, y'all gotta be so stop being so overtly sensitive. Y'all gotta start being real niggas. Y'all gotta start acting like men. That means you can't be a bum. You need a car. You need a job. You need something to do every day. You gotta be bringing in that bread, that dough, that guala, that skrilla. You need your own place. You know what I'm saying? If you really gonna try and build a family or have a girl, because you gotta take care of her. And if you already got a girl, you got a job, and it's not really paying the bills, get a second job. In the great words of Chad Ripperger, he said, "Yo, it is a woman's privilege. It is her privilege to stay at home to take care of your children. Okay, you shouldn't be sending your wife off to work, and you shouldn't be sending your kids to daycare. That's her right to stay at home. And as your job as the man of the house, I don't care if you got to work 3, 4 jobs, whatever it takes, bring that money in." And those are words that I live by. Because at one point I was working 3 jobs, and it was working. I was tired. I ain't had no energy every night, but I was getting that bread. You feel me? Now I'm in a much better position in life. I really only gotta work 1 job. I come here, I hang out with y'all, I chop it up. But you know what I'm saying? Life is hard, but we real niggas, and that's what we gotta do as men. Gotta hold down the fort. If you ain't really got the bread like that, shouts out to Kevin Samuels. He says, yo, you need to be working at least 60 hours a week. That's the only way you're going to be able to get up out of this hole you're in and escape this matrix and live an okay, comfortable life. 60 hours a week minimum. Get a third job, okay? Stop complaining. Stop being a little bi. Do what needs to be done. Don't be beta. Exactly. Be an alpha or be a sigma boy. Good for you. I actually got a job today. Yo, shouts out to Rasmus Vindicilli. That's what we like to hear. Shouts out to Mr. Keep It Simple. He always be preaching this. A 9 to 5 saves lives, okay? Don't be a shooter. Don't be a bum still living with your parents unless you like, a young Bill Gates, and you're trying to build the next Microsoft or the next Apple. By all means, if that's what you're doing, if that's what you're on, you really got it like that, and you started a cool startup, then keep going. Especially if you got the support of your parents. But if you're not doing that, you're just eating hot Cheetos, playing with your balls every day, sitting in the basement, on Call of Duty. What you doing with your life, bro? What you on? Get it together, bro. Niggas tweaking. And Money, money is not everything, but money is something. So if you know, you know. I've been doing nothing for 5 years, nothing. Good golly. Well, I'm glad today you got it together, bro. I'm proud of you, Rasmus. All right. We all got to start somewhere. And, landing a job, it's a big step. It's an important step. Now you finally getting money. You know what I'm saying? That's what's up, bro. It won't make you happy. Exactly. And this is the last thing I'm going to say. And I'm going to get up out of here. Like I just said, money is not everything, but it is very important, especially, here on this planet Earth. But money will not make you truly happy. What human beings are searching for is that eternal happiness. Money, drugs, sex, other people temporarily can give you that happiness. But people will turn on you, they will disappoint you, which will destroy that happiness. The drugs, the high will go down, it will go away, it never lasts forever. Unless you do like 50 hits of acid and then you're in psychosis. That's a different story. The sex is amazing, right? But it only lasts 3 to 5 seconds, 7 seconds if you're lucky, and then you're done. So everything that we're searching for and doing in this world, it's temporary. Temporary happiness. If you want that forever happiness, you have to place your focus and your trust in God because He's the only infinite. So if you stay in the God camp, if you stay in the Jesus camp, if you put your focus and your trust in God, you will have that forever happiness. That is the only person who can give you eternal happiness. Not people, not drugs, not food, not sex, not status, not success. You're just chasing dragons at that point. Trust God. Money is a lot, but it's not everything. You know what I'm saying? I will say that. Money is very important, but more important than money is your faith in God, being a good person, helping other people, having integrity, having honesty, being respectful, having proper values and virtue. And that is what's missing in society today. Human beings have completely lost their moral compass, their sense of value. We've forgotten our traditions. If you stop working today, you'd lose everything. Correct. Not really. If I start working my job, well, I'm not working my job today. I'm off. So I could take days off. I could take a couple months off. I'll still be all right. You can always find another job. And that's another thing too, man. I know life is hard. Life is really tough. But situations that you're going through, they don't last forever. There's seasons. And this is a good thing to think about whenever you're in like some thick shit. It's like, yes, it sucks, but if I thug it out, it will end. And eventually things will get better. Now I know that's kind of hard to do in the moment, but trust me, things will get better. Do you own anything? Beretsky, I am a king. Bro. I live like royalty. No bad, real talk. Bro. I am royalty. And that's not to be like arrogant or like overly conceited. But I absolutely live an amazing life. Hasn't always been this way, but it's pretty lit. Right now, you can see this is my apartment. I live in an apartment, but also there's a house for me to go to down the street. And then in a foreign land, approximately like 3,000 miles from here, I have another house I can go to. But being rich, it's not about how much money is in your bank account. It's not about the square foot of your house. It's about, do you have running water? Can you take hot showers? Do you have a TV? Do you have food in your refrigerator? You have those things, you are in the 1%. You are in the like 92nd percentile of the most richest people in the entire world. If you don't live in India, you're rich. You are rich, my boy. Yes, I am currently renting, but I'm going to stop renting most likely in a couple months. I will buy a house. I'll buy a home. Even though that's what a lot of financial advisors advise against. I said it's better to rent where you live and rent out properties that you own. I'm gonna purchase a home for myself. That is the plan, you guys. Yes, it does. Yeah, if you live in a country where you can like walk to a grocery store, you're rich. If you have vending machines in your neighborhood, you're rich. And if you can walk to your water spigot and drink the water coming out, you're rich, my guy. But we got off topic. The topic of this stream was divorce, marriage, and Christianity. Is it possible? No, not really. How did you buy an apartment 8 years ago when you ain't even had a job? Yo, you sound like a drug dealer, Rasmus. I'm not sure if I can trust you no more, if I can keep you as a model in here. But anyways, we're winding down to the end right now. So you guys go do something with your life. I'm out.